My special guest today is Robbie Bell. He's an attorney with Osborne and Francis. Robbie, welcome to the show.
Hey, Tom, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Robbie, tell the listeners what you do in the law and what they might call you about today.
Yeah, once again, happy to be here. It's actually my first radio show, so breaking it in, but I couldn't be more happy to be on here. And our firm is very unique. We're a national law firm. We're very diverse. We started the firm back in 2015. We're going on, 9 years now, and we have a very unique practice. We do all types of injury cases, from medical malpractice to mass tort, medical device, pharmaceutical, toxic exposure cases. We do product liability cases. We do also auto accidents and premises negligent security cases. So we have a very diverse within the injury realm. We do all types of cases on a local basis and a national basis.
So, Robbie, we're going to, I think, focus on three things today that our listeners might be of interest in. And one would be Camp Lejeune cases, because we all watch TV. We see so many advertisements about it. Two would be talcum powder cases. And three would be medical malpractice cases.
Yeah, and we're heavily involved in all three. Camp Lejeune, if you haven't seen the commercials, I know there's been a lot and it's been very redundant, but our firm got involved very early on in the process. And
when was that roughly? When did this all start coming to light?
Yeah, this came to light. There was an act, the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, was passed in August of last year, August of 2022. It's a very unique case because before that, there was statute of limitations and repose issues where you actually couldn't bring these cases. They were thrown out of court, and they passed an act which allowed any Marine or civilian worker or person that was at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987 that ingested the toxic water there could bring a claim, essentially, against the United States government. And so it created a 2-year window to bring claims. So we have until August of next year to bring a claim. So if you know anybody, a Marine or anybody else, the main thing on that is you have less than a year now to bring a claim, which
this act was by U.S. Congress?
Yes, it was passed and signed by the president.
And did they set aside some money for all these claimants that might be coming forward?
Yeah, they've set aside a lot of money. We don't know the exact number. My understanding is they haven't actually started settling cases yet. We're very much in the claim form process where we actually have to file a claim form with the department, the Navy JAG department. They have about 6 months to review that claim. In the event they don't settle or resolve it, we then can file the cases in the Eastern District of North Carolina.
So are Camp Lejeune cases presently being resolved, money being paid to claimants?
As of right now, at least in our client inventory, we represent about 900 Marines and their families. Our firm has not settled any. So what we're gearing up to do is getting ready, all the claim forms where that 6-month timeline is expired. We're getting ready to start filing lawsuits and proceed with litigation.
Would that, if you've got 900 clients, does that require 900 lawsuits, or is it one class action for your 900 clients?
And that's a great question, Tom. So with a mass tort, the difference is every case is brought individually and every case is resolved individually, because when you're focusing on a personal injury like a toxic exposure case, everyone may have been at Camp Lejeune. All the individuals were there at different times. They were stationed in different areas. Their water ingestion or contamination levels may be different, and their injury timelines are different. So that is why a mass tort with medical device, pharmaceutical, or a toxic tort case like this are different than a class action.
So you're telling me it might require 900 different lawsuits if you got 900 clients?
Yeah, if we're not able to resolve the case in the claim form process, we're going to have to proceed with filing every single lawsuit individually.
And how are damages determined? I know it's on a case-by-case basis, but does it have something to do about when you were there, how long you were there, what kind of symptoms you're experiencing at this moment in time? How are they going to put a dollar amount on that?
100%. We focus as trial lawyers and litigators. We take a deep dive into every single case, and the main thing we focus on is what we call case-specific causation, and that requires knowing when you were there. There's certain time periods at Camp Lejeune where the toxic levels of contamination were higher. Probably, from a timeline perspective, if you were there later on as opposed to earlier, there was more time for the contamination to go up. Also, when they were diagnosed, the latency period, all of those things. There's already a lot of studies out there that have linked a lot of the different forms of cancer and ailments to this excessively high toxic water. But in cases where maybe it's a tougher call, obviously that's where we hire some of the best experts across the country to come on board and obviously support our clients.
My guest today is Robbie Bell with Osborne and Francis. And so when you see all the advertising going on TV for Camp Lejeune cases, they're trying to build their client inventory before this 6-month period ends in August of 2024?
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
August of 2024. And yeah, there is a lot of advertisement out there. We as a firm, we're very hands-on litigating. We treat every case with specificity. We try to work up every case as best as possible. So since we actually do litigation, we're in the courtroom, we're taking depositions, we're preparing for trial. We bring a very unique approach because we're not just a firm that just gets all the cases and sits around and settles them. We actually push cases in the courthouse.
So you're not one of the big advertisers I see on TV?
I'm not on TV. I am on a radio show, but I'm not on TV,
Okay.
At least yet. But,
And so who is going to pay these settlement amounts? Where is this money coming from?
The United States government has set aside billions of dollars to cover this, so it's going to come from the government. One thing about this case that I see is that really here we are. We have Marines from 1953 to 1987 training at Camp Lejeune to go fight for our country and support our country, and they were being exposed with excessively high levels before they were even being sent off to war. So this is a very much a passion project, as much as it is a litigation, because we've talked to so many Marines. One thing that I do, my staff and my team does, is we get on a Zoom call or meet in person with every single client, go through their story, listen to what they've been through, and we've heard some remarkable stories from these Marines who have helped fight and defend our country.
If you've got a question about us, about the Camp Lejeune cases, we have phone lines available to you right now, 844-580-9326. We all know about it from the TV advertising, but if you've got a question about a Camp Lejeune case, now is your chance to talk to an expert, Attorney Robbie Bell, 844-580-9326. And Robbie, first of all, how are people ingesting contaminated water? We're talking about drinking water, they swimming in it, they're making food with it. All of that?
All of the above. So from
showering in it?
1953 to 1987, it was in the drinking water supply. It was in the showers. They were swimming in it. They were doing water training. One thing we've learned is they used to bring out these big water buffaloes. So they'd be out in the field training, heat of the summer, and they would all be ingesting the water, this drinking water. They were showering in it. They were cooking with it. So it came from all different sources.
Did they have wells at Camp Lejeune and they're pulling this water up from underneath the ground?
Yeah, the water supply was all locally right there on site, and there was a multitude of different contaminants that entered it. There was a dry cleaning runoff. There was industrial facilities there. There were old diesel tanks that were leaking in the water ground and the water supply there. So it was very much a toxic sludge or slew of chemicals.
Did some of it or just all of it come from the actual Camp Lejeune property, or was it coming from surrounding properties as well?
It's all on the Camp Lejeune site. There's some different bases and some different areas. One thing that we share with all of our clients is we actually have a map, and we kind of pinpoint where they were on the map or where they were stationed. So you had to be on the Camp Lejeune site for at least 30 days or more.
Okay, so Camp Lejeune had a dry cleaning facility, and they were just one of the people contaminating the water supply.
Yeah, military. It was a military base for families as well. So we represent obviously Marines, but then we represent the families of Marines that were living on site, whether they were working there. It was a whole community based around the Marines, but there was also civilian workers, their families, etc.
And so what are your clients doing to prove to you that they happen to be at Camp Lejeune during this certain period of time?
Yeah, and that's another thing that our firm is taking a hands-on approach. If our client does not have any documentation, because say it was 30, 40 years ago or whatever it may be, we go the extra mile. We're getting DD-214s, which are the discharge documents which show where the Marines were located. We also are going through the National Archives and other sources to prove that they were there from a documentation perspective.
And so again, we're talking about the actual soldiers, family members, spouses, kids, you name it, they're all part of this.
They are, as long as they were there, and they could either testify, do an affidavit, we have the documentation, the requisite proof that they were there for more than 30 days, along with one of the diagnosed injuries that's related.
And what are some of the symptoms that people are showing from being contaminated with this water?
Yeah, there's different tiers of injuries. The main tier is what they call tier 1, and that's bladder cancer, kidney cancer, liver cancer, leukemia, Parkinson's. So there's a whole, for lack of a better term, slew of injuries related. Then there's also, and that was based on the studies I was talking about before, and then there's a whole nother subset of injuries which may require hiring specific experts to help prove those up.
And what would happen if somebody come to you and said, hey, my husband was at Camp Lejeune, but he died from liver cancer in 1990. How are you handling that situation?
And this is the unique thing about this act is it really reopened a statute of limitations and statute of repose because before you could not have the ability to bring a case. Now we have a 2-year window. So as long as we have a proper personal representative, as you know, being a state lawyer, as long as we have a proper heir or personal representative to bring a claim on behalf of the estate, we have until August to do so of next year.
So I know personal injury attorneys don't tell a client, hey, I'm going to get you this amount of money. But what kind of dollar amounts are you expecting for typical clients? What's it going to range as far as the amount of damages for typical clients?
And that's been one of the most hardest things, Tom, is to try to calculate what these cases are worth. This is such a unique case because it's of first impression. There's no history of Camp Lejeune water toxic cases ever resolving. So one thing as lawyers is we have to use our background, training, and experience to try to help tailor that conversation with clients. And one thing as part of the claim form, when we submit it, we actually have to put a dollar figure down there. So trying to calculate what a case is worth, and obviously with having families and Marines involved, they feel very strongly about this because they feel like they were personally wronged. So it's very difficult to do so. One thing that we do is when we do a claim form, we try to use our history or background in other medical device, pharmaceutical, or toxic tort cases to try to show what those cases have settled for in the past, and then use that as a benchmark or a guide to figure out what we're going to determine.
My guest today is Attorney Robbie Bell with Osborne and Francis, and we've been talking about Camp Lejeune cases, but Robbie, I want to take a few minutes to talk about the law firm Osborne and Francis, so tell us some about it.
Yeah, Osborne and Francis were a boutique litigation trial law firm with offices in Boca Raton, Orlando, Lakeland, and I actually just helped open an office last week in West Palm Beach. So we started with 4 of us. We're now up to 35 plus employees, 12 trial lawyers, and 4 offices around the state.
And tell people about your small business Saturdays, because we're big believers in small business too.
Hey, so my personal lawyer marketing brand, at Robert Bell on social media, it goes something like this. All right, Oz, we're here for Small Business Saturday. We're here with Tom Olson of Olson Law Group and Olson on Law Radio. Pleasure having you. Tom, why don't you tell us a little about your practice and your radio show?
Well, Olson on Law is the longest running legal radio show in the country. Been doing it for 37 years now, and We are a small business that we got 7 lawyers and quite a few staff, but we love helping people.
And that's what it's all about. It's about giving back to the community, supporting small businesses, supporting the family-owned or operated mom-and-pop places. Every Saturday, I go around no matter where I'm at. I started in January of this year, and every Saturday I feature a new small business. And today, being on your radio show, what better timing to do it? So I appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Another Small Business Saturday in the books, everybody.
And so your firm is having a big get-together tonight. Tell the listeners about that.
Yeah, so Greg Francis, our partner in Orlando, is very much involved in the local community here in Orlando. He has done the For the Kids Holiday Extravaganza. It's the 13th annual. It's at the Celine nightclub in downtown Orlando. Everyone brings a toy of at least $25, and we all celebrate giving back to the community, and Greg and his team then go and give out the toys to the less fortunate communities in Orlando.
That pile of toys must be huge. Just the act of moving it later tonight has got to be a big job.
It is quite the undertaking, and Greg and our whole Orlando team spends a lot of time doing community stuff, and this one is one of the biggest. Usually we have close to 1,000 people come through the door, so we're very excited. It worked out great to be up here and come do the radio show and then come support the kids later.
Robbie, we appreciate you being here today. Again, our guest today is Robbie Bell with Osborne and Francis, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Thank you very much, Tom, and if you need me, you can look us up on @RingRobBell, and our law firm is realtoughLawyers.com, @RealToughLawyers.
Very good. Thank you. My name is Tom Olson. The name of the show is Olson on Law. You're listening to WDBO. We'll be back in just a few minutes.